everyone, Dave Moorhead here. This is going to be kind of a long tutorial because I'm going to show you a bunch of different things, and instead of showing you one specific thing, I'm just going to do an arrangement, and then anything that pops up we'll talk about, and hopefully you'll be able to get some useful information out of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the chorus to Jingle Bells, and I'm just going to, off the top of my head, just create an arrangement, and then you'll see the workflow that I use and the things that you'll encounter when you're doing an arrangement. So first of all, moving around the score, the right mouse button, hold that down, and then you can go up and down. You don't have to constantly keep going to the scroll bar. You can just hold the right mouse button down and then scroll around that way. Now I'm writing for a 9-piece ensemble. I used to have an 11-piece band, so that used to have a bari and a trumpet 3, but I don't have that anymore. But I just leave that in my template because I use this as like a scratch staff where I can copy stuff to and move stuff around, so I just leave them in there. But obviously I only need the alto, tenor, trumpet 1, trumpet 2, trombone, and rhythm section. Alright, so let's see. Let's first of all, we have to decide who's going to get the melody. I think we can put it in the trumpets, and then let's decide what key we should put it in. Why don't we leave it in the key of C, and we can go from there, and we can always change that later. So let's see, I'm going to click in the trumpet part, and then on my MIDI keyboard I'm going to hold down the E. Actually, I'm going to do both trumpets at the same time and show you how to explode. So I'm going to hold down the harmonies on the MIDI keyboard, right? And then I'm going to push 5 for a quarter note, and I'll push while I'm holding the notes down on the MIDI keyboard, 5, 5, and then I'm holding the notes on the keyboard, and I'll push 6. All right, so there we go. So I have Jingle Bells. All right, and if I don't want to, the second measure is going to be exact same as the first, so I can go like this. I can just use the move tool, the selection tool, and then click on that measure, and then right click, use filter, and let's see, let's edit the filter to make sure it's what I want. So you can have a choice of what you want Finale to copy. If you want to copy everything, push A. If you don't want to copy anything, push N. And the reason that works is because when you hold down the Alt key, you can see what the shortcut keystrokes are. N is for none, A is for all. So let's say I just have notes and rests I want to copy, right? So I just click notes and rests, and then I just click on this and hold the left mouse button down, and then I have that. Okay, now if I want to put an articulation in, I go to the articulation tool and then click on a note, and then the staccato is what I want for the quarter notes, and you'll see in the upper right hand corner is a 1. So that is the shortcut key that's been assigned to the staccato. So I can push, double click this to put the staccato on there. Now all I have to do is, now that I know that the staccato is 1, I'll hold 1 on the computer keyboard and then left click on the note, and then it'll automatically give me a staccato. Alright, so I'm going to click without holding anything on the computer keyboard. I'm going to click on this note. I want to put the accent, which is a number 2. Okay, these can be changed as well, but you can just, once you have them set, and just memorize them, and then it's a lot easier than changing them around. Alright, so now I'm going to click 2 on the computer keyboard, and then I'm going to accent that. Now I put it in an octave too low, so I'm going to use the selection tool, click on this measure with the left mouse button, and then push shift, and then click on this measure, and that will select both of the measures. Okay, now I want to transpose, and I go to edit, utilities, transpose right here. I want to go up an octave, so I can do +1 octave here, a unison +1 octave, or I can just choose octave here. Okay, so now it's an octave higher. All right, so now I'll change my MIDI keyboard. Now that I know it's coming into an octave too low, I have to change my MIDI keyboard to an octave higher. Okay, now I'm going to put in the rest of the melody. So I want jingle, oh, jingle all the way. And then instead of putting a whole note in there, I'll put a dotted half note to make sure you're giving the brass space to breathe. You always have to remember that wind instruments need time to breathe, so you have to write that into your parts. Now I'm doing this part. Let's see. Oh, what fun it is to ride. And then the eighth note is the 4 on the computer keyboard. In a one horse open sleigh. Oh. All right. So now I'll go in. Remember we talked about the articulations. I'll go in real quick and put in, I'll hold down the 1 on the computer keyboard. Now you, instead of clicking on each individual note, if you know you want to put a staccato on all of these notes here, these quarter notes, all you have to do is hold down 1 and then click on the left mouse button and drag over those notes. Now you've just applied that staccato to all of those notes. And I'll do the same thing for these quarter notes. So let's see, I want to change this to a quarter note. So one horse open sleigh, ba. I want to put a little pause in there. All right, so if I use this speedy note entry and then click on here, and now I'll push 5, and that'll automatically change that half note to a quarter note. Okay, now I need a rest, so I'm going to insert one, push Shift 5, and that will insert a rest. Okay, so let's have a listen to what we have so far. Okay, see how that note was a little too long, so I have to make sure I put a staccato on there. Alright, and then I'll do the staccatos here. And then if you don't put anything on there, then they're just going to play the note long. Alright, if you want to make it absolutely clear that you don't want that short, you can put in a tenuto, which the shortcut key in mine is a 6. Alright. And then if you want to speed the tempo up just a little bit, you can go up here to the tempo tool, and let's bump it up to about, let's see, 205. Alright, so now if I want to play it, I push the space bar and I click on the first measure. You know what? Somehow this got set to 8th note. I want quarter note, and I want 205. $206. Okay. All right. So we want to make sure this says quarter note. I don't know what is going on up there. All right, so we want the we want to put this these two notes. We want to separate them from trumpet 1 to trumpet 2. So the Finale has a thing called the explode command, and you would use the selection tool. Click on the first measure, hold down Shift, click on the last measure. Now, when you have it all selected, you're going to push the shortcut key 2. And that's the shortcut key for explode the notes. What that's going to do is it's going to take the bottom layer and put it on the trumpet 2 part. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. So push 2 and then explode music. Now I wanted to split into 2 staves, which is going to keep the original on the trumpet line, the melody. Then it's going to move the other one down to trumpet 2. 1 note per staff, top down. put in, if there's any extra notes, put in the bottom staff. There's not going to be any extra notes because we only got 2 notes. And then we want to choose existing staves starting with trumpet 1. And then when you click OK, that separates it. And this is a good way to save time putting in articulations because you only have to put the articulations in once. And then when you explode it, all the articulations get copied. All right, let's put in a counterpart for just to fill in when the sax is. I want to do like a ba da dee da 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 dee da, something like that. All right. So I'll push 6 on the computer keyboard to get half notes. Ba da dee da 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 dee da. And then, and what chord do we have here? Maybe a G chord. So I'll just do a whole note. And then this is a secondary dominant, so it's going to be D7 to G. So we can put in there all right, so you see how Finale chose G flat? Well, I don't want a G flat. I actually want an F sharp. So you use the Speedy Entry Note tool here. And I believe the shortcut key is 9. So you push 9 and it switches to the harmonic equivalent. So now I want this note to be short. So I go to my articulation tool, click on 1 on the computer keyboard, then click on the note. All right, and I want to put slurs over the first 2 measures, and I want to put slurs in there. So now I go to the articulation, what is this called? Smart Shape tool. All right, and then it puts all of the tools over here. Right now it's selected to this. I want a slur. So what I do is I click, while the slurs is activated over there, I click on the first note here, and then I hold down the left mouse button. You got to double click, sorry. Thought it was just a single click. So double click on this G, and then double click. All right, so now I got my slurs in there. Now I want the saxophones to be in unison. So I'm going to copy this down to the tenor part. So I use the selection tool, copy, selection, and then push shift and then hold down the last measure. Now all you do is you're going to hold down the left mouse button and you're going to drag this to this stab. Make sure you drag it completely straight down, because if you drag it to the side, you're going to get this. It's going to be off a beat, okay? So what you want to do is you want to make sure you're dragging it completely straight down. All right. Well, it didn't copy the articulations or the slurs, so we're going to fix that, okay? So what we want to do is we want to set the copy filter to copy everything. So let's right click and then go to edit filter and then push A, which is the equivalent of pushing all, and then click OK. Now it'll copy everything from up there down here. Okay, so let's see how that sounds. You've got the saxophones in unison. All right, so the tenor part, to give it a little more body, I would like to bring that down an octave. So I'm going to use the selection tool, click on the first measure, click shift, click on the last measure. Now what I can do is there's shortcut keys for transposition. Mine to go down an octave has been set to, when I push 6, it's going to automatically put it down an octave. So I'm going to push 6. Let's see how that sounds. So we got to be careful. This is a long phrase for the saxes. So we might want to put in a dotted quarter note here to give them a little bit of a breath. They're going to instinctively probably cut that short anyway, but just to be sure. Speedy entry tool, then click on 5 and then the period. Okay, and then click out of the measure, and then Finale already fills in the rest of the beats for you. And so we can do the same thing down here. Let's make this dotted quarter so the saxes will have a place to breathe there. All right, I like this line. Now I want to zoom out, so I'm going to push. I'm going to push Control, and then I'm going to click on the mouse button, and then that zooms me out. So I want to bring this tenor part down to the trombone part. I'd like him to play the same thing, or she to play the same thing. So, selection tool, same deal. Move that down. Oh, sorry, I moved it down to trumpet 3. So, there we go. So now we get a little bit more body. All right, so let's put in a cool chord on this this little half note here. I want to put in like a G13 flat 9. So I'll put the 13 here, and then I'll put. By the way, if you're in the speedy entry note and then you have a rest here, if you double click on that, it'll become a note. Now you just drag it to where you want it. And I want him on the 3rd, or he, she. I've had a lot of trombone players that are girls too, so it's not gender specific, sorry. So let's see, we have this, this, this. Now I need a 7th, so I'm going to put that in. I'm going to put that in the tenor part. All right, and I'm going to put the flat 9 in the alto part. And then if you want to make this flat, you push the minus sign while your cursor is on the note in speedy entry. All right, so let's hear how that sounds. Bum, bum. So now, yes, in order for that to sound good, we have to have the bass on that note too. We have to have a bass on a low G. So let's see here. I got to put a D there, I think. Bum. All right, so that's way too high. So if you find out you forgot to move your MIDI keyboard, just use the selection tool, push 6 a couple times, and that brings it down an octave. So I want to put a staccato on here, staccato, then accent. So now it should sound much better with the bass. It'll make the chord full. And if you just want to listen to that sonority, like if you just want to check that chord, you push Control, spacebar, and then hover over that area in the score, and it will play it. So you can listen to that. All right, so you can voice this chord any way you want. You can move it around. Like I could have put the 3rd in the tenor part, and I could have put the 7th in the trombone. It doesn't matter as long as all the notes are there. So we have the root, which is G, and then we have the 7th, which is F. They have the 3rd, which is B. Flat 9, which is A flat, and then this is the tonic, all right, and which is matching the bass. So let's push Control spacebar. So I like it. Let's hear what we have so far. Nice. So what we can do is put in a bass part. This is going to be like it can be either a 2-beat or a 4-beat, But so we can go bum, 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 bum. If you want that, you can easily do that. So let's try that. So I have to move my keyboard, MIDI keyboard down a couple octaves. All right. And then there. So I think that's the right chords. I'm doing the chords off the top of my head, so sorry about that. All right, so how does that sound? Let's see. Dee da dee da dum. This is going to be a C7, so I need to go in the speedy entry. Dee da dee dee dee. So it's going to be C7 going to F, and then D7 going to G. All right, so let's see how we go. Okay, so let's see, the piano part, you just want to just put in the offbeats. Something like that, something very simple. Whoops, I'm too low from the bass, so move the keyboard up a couple octaves. And then you can move it up another octave if you want, but I think this is going to be okay. So I'll just do on the offbeats. 1, ba, 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 ba. And then I'll put 2 half notes here. One with a C, and then I'll add the B flat to get the C7. And then I'm on an F chord, so I'll take the closest F to whatever voicing I have right now, so there's not a big jump in the piano part. 1, ba, ba. Take the closest C. Sorry. And then I want a D7, so I'll do the closest voicing I have for a D7 without having to move too much. 1. And then a G. So see what the finale did. He or she, whatever you call finale, gave me a G flat. So I'm going to zoom in here so you can see what I'm doing. So see how I got a G flat? I wanted a D on F sharp, so it's a D7 chord. So I have to use the speedy entry tool and then click on the note and then move the cursor down to that note. All right, and then push 9, and that'll change it to an F sharp. It gives you the enharmonic equivalent. If you push Control 9, it'll change it for the entire measure. All right, so I could have done that. All right, let's zoom out. Let's see what we've got here. All right, zoom out some more. And I want to make those piano hits like short. So I'm going to use the articulation tool. I'm going to hold down 1 and I'm going to drag all over this region with quarter notes, and that's going to give me staccato. That's a great quick way to do it without having to do it individually. It saves you a lot of time. All right, so let's hear what it sounds like. All right, so I got a wrong note in the saxes. When I originally was doing this, I was envisioning another chord there, but that's not going to work on our F chord. So I need to change that to an A. That will fit the F chord. Or I could have made a C, but to make it more interesting, there's a C in the next measure. You don't want to have 2 C's in a row. dun. All right. Now it should sound better. Let's start on this measure. Ah, forgot to take him out or her out. They also have to have a change because remember it's a unison line. Let's try it. Okay. So now we want to put in the guitar part. If you don't want to be specific about writing out guitar voicings, which you really don't need to in a song as simple as this, what you can do is you can just write in slashes, like, slash notation. So what we'll do is we'll copy the piano part, and the way we've always done it with shift clicking and then selecting the region, move that up to the guitar line. Now we don't want it to actually display the notes. We want it to display just rhythmic notation. So we'll select the first measure with the selection tool, and then the last measure. Now what we want to do is we want to select the staff tool. Okay, and then we want to right click on this first measure here, and then we want to use rhythmic notation. So now we have rhythmic notation, but the only problem is that they need to know what chords we're going to be putting in, because they have no idea what this chord is, right? Because the piano knows what they're playing because the notes are actually written out. So you have to go to the chord tool and click on this measure with the chord tool, and then just click a capital C. And for a simple song like this, you can easily do that. Okay, and then click on another C, just at the beginning of each measure that has a C. All right, C. And then click the space bar to go ahead to the half note. Now, let's click on C:0. That's when you push enter, that's going to bring up the chord dialog box, and you get to choose what chord you want. So when it gets a little bit more complex, you have to use this. So these are all the chords that I have in Finale. So it's the 7th is going to be up near the top right there. That's what we want. So now we got a C7 chord in there. Now we've got the chord tool selected. Click on this note, or the rest I should say. Now we want F. And then we want to go back to C, and then D7, so D:0, enter, 7. All right. And then I'll click on this note, and that will be a G7. And remember, we've got our jazzy chord here on beat 3. So we want to write out a voicing for the guitar, for the piano and guitar. Or we can just write G13 plus flat 9. So we'll just put in a voicing for them. Let's see. So I'm holding down the notes on the MIDI keyboard, and then I just push enter, and it will replace the half note there with what I have selected here. So now I've done that. And if you want, let's see, let's go put a G7, G13 flat 9, G:0, and then I want to find the 13 flat 9. All right. So sometimes it's hard to find a chord in here because I've got so many. So I've got that. So now I want to make sure that let's say I want to copy a partial measure. So now I'm just going to use the selection tool, and I'm going to just choose this, and I want to move this up to the guitar. So you can just do partial measures if you want to. Now I don't want to write this voicing out because the guitar, you can't just give the same voicing that you give to a piano to a guitar because they're different instruments. So what I want to do is I just want to select this, and then with the staff tool selected, this little treble clef up here, I want to right click and then put rhythmic notation. So the guitarist is going to play whatever voicing they want. Okay. Now I need to copy these chords up to the guitar part. So how am I going to do that? So I use the selection tool, click on the first measure, and click on here because all the way up to here, because we don't need to put the chord there because it's already there. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to right click, edit filter. Now I only want to copy chords here. And the shortcut for that, when I push the Alt key, it'll show you what the shortcut is for each thing. It's very small, but you put a little underline under the F, so that means the shortcut for chords and fretboards is F. So I'm going to push none. I'm going to push N for no, none. All right, and then I'm going to push F, and that's only going to select the chords. Now, when I move stuff around, it's only going to move the chords, not the notes or anything else. All right, so now I've copied my chords to there. Okay, now we need to do the drum part. Oh, actually, let's copy the chords down to the bass part. So here we go. Just drag it straight down while you have that selected. No problem. All right, now I need to put the drums in. So I want the, let's see, probably the hi-hat in a 2-beat kind of thing like this. So I have to find the hi-hat on the MIDI keyboard. So on mine it's the F sharp, and then the open hi-hat is the B flat above the F sharp. So I'm going to enter in a little like 2-beat swing feel for the drums. Ba 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 ba. Now I need a crash, and that's the C sharp, and then I push 5 to get to get the quarter note. Da 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 da. Oops. Sorry. I don't know what I was pushing earlier. Da da da. So let's see here. I don't know why it didn't give me the this little thing for the open here. And then we didn't tell it the finale we wanted to swing, so we're going to put that in later too. So let me see here. So this should be open. Yeah, I don't know why that didn't. Hold on a second, I got it reversed. Da 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 da. Sorry, I had it reversed. Not a drummer. Then there's the crash. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Let's see. Da 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 da. And then I need a cymbal crash on this big hit, and then a snare, just to give it a big accent. And then I'll push 6. All right, now I'll put the bass drum in. Now we're gonna switch to layer 2 to put the bass drum in, and there's just 1 and 3. Oh, I forgot. Should have been a quarter rest. All right. So let's see what we have so far. Actually, we don't want to hear it played straight again. So what we need to do is we need to put an expression in the part to tell Finale that this is going to be swung eighth notes. So to do that, you have to put expression tool, click, double click on the first measure, and then I want to do under tempo marks, I want to choose swing. If you don't have a swing, we're going to create one. I want to show you how to create one in case you don't have one. So let's create a new tempo mark. And then we want to type swing. So this is a little tip if you want to make text bigger or smaller. It's a Windows tip. So you push Control A and then Control Shift and then the greater than sign. And then it'll make the text bigger, and then less than sign, it makes it smaller. So that's a good way. Instead of going through menus, it's a lot easier doing it that way. All right, so we want to choose that. Now we have to define swing because you have to tell it what this expression is going to do. So you go to Edit, Playback. Now we want to go under Type, and then you want to choose Swing. And then right now it's set to 0, so it's not going to do anything. I usually choose standard. It works well for most situations. Choose standard, then click OK. Now you have to decide which parts you want the swing part to display on. So you go to Edit Categories, and this is going to affect all tempo marks. Make sure, so you go here to Score List, right here. And then I wanted to just on the top, maybe on the top line of the score, and then I want it in all the parts except for the second left hand of the piano. Okay, so I want to check all staves, and then uncheck this one, and this extra staff I don't need. All right, so basically it's going to put the swing in all parts. Okay, but not in the score. So, well, for purposes here, I'm going to put it on the score here, just so you can see it down here, so you know that we added it. But you don't have to do that because it will be on the part. Okay. So click OK, and then click Assign. All right. So if you want to move this down a little bit, this is too crowded. Push the staff tool. And then click the selection tool or the expression tool and just move the swing up a little bit so it's not colliding. So let's hear what we have so far. Okay, so I heard one of the chord instruments is playing too long. And let's see. Somebody was playing that note too long on beat 1, and I don't know who I forgot to give the staccato mark to. Let's see here. I think everybody's got it. Somebody was holding over. Let's see how it sounds. It's the piano part, or maybe I have a half note in there or something. I'm not sure. That's short. That's short. Ah, I know what's going on. Finale, if it tries to play the chords. When you put in chord symbols, it tries to play the chords, and you don't want that. So you want to shut that off because it's not very reliable, and it only works on the most basic of chords. So we want to go to the chord tool. All right, and then we want to go into the chord menu, and we want to take off enable chord playback. That was the problem because Finale was playing a chord on beat 1, and they were just playing it long because it was just kind of just making it a half note. All right, so just uncheck play chords. Now we'll try it again, so you'll hear it'll be short. All right. So we have the same material. Let's see. Da da dee da 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 dee da 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 da. This all is the same. So what we want to do is we want to make a first and second ending. So I want to take the ending tool and then click on, let's see, click on here, and then make this simple repeat. And then I want to click on just these two measures. And then I want to create first and second ending. Okay. So now we have finale. We'll jump to the second ending the second time. Up. So let's see what it does. Okay, now we have to make the second ending. Now see the 1 and the 2 is very, very small as a default, and I like those numbers to be much bigger. How do we change that? We have to go under Document, and let's see here. Document Options, and I want to go under Fonts, and I want to go under Notation, and let's see here. Sometimes you got to remember where all these things are. Text repeat. Let's see here. Measure number, text block, ending repeat. You want to go under text, sorry. Ending repeat. Now I want to change that to something bigger than 10. Let's make it 16. Alright, and click apply or OK. Now the number is much bigger. That's much easier to see and read, right? Okay, so for some reason Finale makes these two different entities. So sometimes when you're moving stuff around, they get misaligned like this. Alright, so an easy way to fix this is you want to use the repeat tool, click on these measures, and then right click and then put align brackets, and that will align them without you having to do it manually and worrying about if they're lining up correctly. Okay, so just remember you have to push the repeat tool, click on the measures, left click, align brackets, and that will align everything when they get out of line. Alright, so we have to put in the second ending. Okay, I'm too low on my MIDI keyboard. There, that's the right octave. Alright, so what happened is that I forgot to take Finale back to layer 1. So I don't want this to be on layer 2. I put that in by accident on layer 2. You can easily change that. For right now, we'll just change to layer 1. But now we have to change this manually. So we have to go to the selection tool, click on the measure, like we always do to select. And then what we want to do is we want to go under, let's see, remembering where this is, move copy layers under the edit menu. So I want to move contents of layer 2 into layer 1. Make sure this is checked. Okay, now I changed it without having to delete anything. I just changed it to layer 1. Now articulation tool, I want to put in my articulations. Alright, so let's see here, what are we going to put in? We got a G chord here, so this measure is a G chord. So let's copy. I want to show you how to use the repitch tool. So let's say you want this rhythm, but you want to change it to different pitches. So you make sure that you're we're going to move this down to the second trumpet just as it is. Make sure that everything's selected. Use filter. Make sure that everything's selected. So push A for all. Now everything, the articulations and the notes are going to be selected. Drag it down. Okay, now I want to change this to different notes. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the simple entry repitch tool, which is right here. Okay, so let's click on that. And then I want to control click on this first note. Now, whatever note I play on the MIDI keyboard, it's going to change it from whatever note is there to whatever note I play on the MIDI keyboard. So, I want to have a B here. Okay, so I just changed that without having to re-enter the articulations or the value of the notes, quarter notes. I just basically used the same material and just repitched the note to something else. All right, and then I want to copy this down, whole note. So I have a couple choices here. I can put them in unison and then put a chord somewhere else. Let's move this down to the trombone with the selection tool. And now now see that I've got this notes there. The reason it turns orange is because they say that's out of range. So it kind of gives you a warning that that's a little too high. For people that are young to orchestration, they're not really sure about the ranges. This kind of gives you a heads up when it's written a little bit too high. And you can set that for a pro player or a beginner player. So it comes in handy sometimes to remind you that something's out of range. So first of all, I want to bring that down. So I push 6. And then so I've got the same note there. So I don't need another B, so I can put in a D or an F because it's a G7 chord. So let's do the repitch tool and then control click on the first note. So let's see here, I want to do D maybe because that'll be the triad. Okay, first of all I gotta move I'll push Control Z. I gotta move my keyboard down an octave. So sometimes, and then you can move your cursor key to get to the different notes. So that's what I'm doing right now. So now I'm too low. So now I gotta move my MIDI keyboard up 1 octave. There we go. And then I'm going to put an F here. And then I'm going to put the third in the trombone part. So I'm going to move this down here. And I'm going to repitch that to an E. Control click on the note with the repitch tool. All right, so let's hear how that sounds. All right, that's pretty good. So now I've just got to fill in the second ending, and then we're done for this little example anyway. So I want to put a final bar line in here, and I want to delete all the rest of these measures. So in order to put a final bar line here, just click the measure tool, right click, bar line, final. Alright, so now this is tricky, like to delete all the measures to the end of the piece, because my laptop is different than working on the regular desktop. So on mine, I believe I just have to double click, and then I push the let's see, Alt Control Shift, I believe it is, and then the arrow key. Oh, that only does one measure at a time. So I need to do the function Control Shift, and that selects to the end, and then I push delete, and then I got rid of all those measures. So you'll have to experiment with that because everybody's got different arrow keys. Some of them are combined with page up, page down. So you just of course you can always manually delete those just by scrolling out and then zooming in, and finding all the measures and then just deleting them. All right, so let's see, what are we going to put in the saxophones? Ba-da-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum. So it's just maybe that's okay. So what happens is that when you put in a whole note, Finale automatically jumps to the next measure, and it'll create the next measure. So if you want to get rid of that extra measure, all you do is double click on it and then just push delete. When it turns blue, the whole entire score, that's called a measure stack, and you double click on that, and then you can delete it. If you just did one measure at a time, it would just delete just what's in that bar. All right. All right, so let's go get a slur from the Smart Shape tool. Another shortcut is if you're on a different Smart Shape, all you have to do is push S and then double click, and it'll jump to slur. So even if you're on Trill or anything else, one of these other ones, if you push S, you will get a slur. Now I want to copy this down to the tenor part and then put it down an octave. So select 6, down an octave. And then we want to put in the piano part. G7, 1, ba, ba. Just push Control Shift 5 to insert a rest. Ba, ba. Now I just put a C6 chord in, C major 6. All right. And let's put that in the, let's put the chord in. So G7, just type G7. For simple chords, it works where you just have to type the simple chord. Or for the more complex chords, you have to put in the G colons and 0. And then I want this to be a C6. So we'll do the colon option, C major 6 or major 6/9. So there's a little triangle there. You can either use the triangle or you can use the MI, which might be way down here. MI major 6, MA6. All right, so we've got major 6th. And then I want to move this. Oh, first I'll add articulation. I want to make these short. And now I want to move that to the guitar part and make it rhythmic notation. All right, so just drag it and then click on it, click Shift, and then with the staff tool selected, you want to rhythmic notation. All right, so now I need to put in my bass part. Bum, boom, bum. All right. And if you want to give these, since it's like a two-beat kind of thing, and you wanted to give it more weight, and you know the bass is going to be playing those actual notes and not making up any other bass line, you can also double the bass line on the bottom left hand of the piano. So selection tool, click to the left of the bass, like over here to the left of the clef. That will select the entire staff, you know, the entire bass part. And then just drag it up to here. And the reason it put it down an octave is because the bass is written 1 octave higher than it sounds. So right now, even though you're seeing this in the bass part, it's actually sounding this note in concert pitch. So that's okay. That's okay to give the piano the exact same unison. You could move the piano up, but I like it when it gives it more body by playing the lower notes. All right, so let's zoom out a little bit. Oh, actually, let's finish this so you can hear the whole thing. All right, so we got to put in a drum part. Okay, I just need a bar of swing, so I can move this over here. And then I just need a cymbal, crash. And then in layer 2, I just need a bass drum on 1. Okay, so once again, like now that we've put all the notes in and it's not going to create any extra measures, we can get rid of this by double clicking, delete. All right, let's see what our wonderful impromptu composition has gotten us here. All right, so let's zoom out so you can kind of see all the parts. Okay, so zoom in 1. All right, so I'm right clicking to move it around on the staff. All right, so let's see how it sounds. Okay, there you have it. The reason I went through the whole process is because sometimes you can pick up stuff just from seeing somebody else doing the way they enter stuff. So I know I've like Photoshop tutorials and stuff like that. I picked up a lot of things just by watching people work. So of course, if you have more efficient ways of doing everything, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. But I just wanted to do a full project so you can see the kind of things that comes up. You know, you're putting stuff in the wrong, your keyboard's not transposed correctly, putting in wrong notes, and you got to go in and fix it. So I just wanted to give you that. And like I said, make this a little bit bigger to show you how to solve those little bit of problems. But there you go. There's Jingle Bells. And let me know if you like the tutorial. And like and subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of stuff. Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, after I had a look at the score, after I stopped the recording, I noticed that I didn't remove the chords in the bottom stave of the piano part. So what we want to do is we want to clear this item and just delete the chords. You can do this in a number of ways. You can choose the chord tool, and then you can just drag a box around all the chords, and then you can delete. Or, and I haven't done this method in a while, but you can select the measures that have the chords that you want to get rid of, and then we want to do a clear selection. And I'm just trying to remember where that is. Clear selected items, right there. So you could clear all items, but I want to clear selected items. So you click on this, and then just like the edit filter, you just click on none, and then just chords. Okay, and remember N is the shortcut for none, A is the shortcut for all. Okay, so I just want to clear the chords. And there you go. And I noticed I had the sixth on the trumpet part because I was doing this arrangement off the top of my head. I had the sixth and the trumpet part, so you have to notate that in the chords as well. So I changed that from F to F major 6. All right, so I need to copy this chord down to the bass, but only the chord. So just remember to right click when you have the selection tool, and then you want to edit filter, and then I want to push none to get rid of everything, and then I want to push F for chords and fretboards. Okay, because F is the shortcut for chords and fretboards. Now I'm going to copy just this chord down to the bass part. All right, so I did a little bit of cleanup there, and I think it's okay now. So let's have one listen with the corrected information. It shouldn't change the playback though, because I just changed the chord. I could put F6 in here. So underneath here, I can change this to, instead of just an F chord, I'll change that to an F6. Okay, my keyboard's too low. And then I gotta go down one. All right, so now instead of just an F, it's an F6. Okay, now it should be, okay, now Control S. Make sure you're always, we didn't do this during the tutorial, but you know, Finale does lock up from time to time. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you're always saving. Okay, like get in the habit of saving. Push Control S like every couple minutes, because it will save, literally save you, because if Finale locks up, you don't want to lose an hour's worth of work. So I'm lucky that nothing happened while I was doing this tutorial, but just make sure you're pushing that Control S all the time. It doesn't take any time to save it, so go ahead and do that. All right, let's have one last listen, and then we're done. And that's it. Thanks.